Part of my work as an advice columnist is, of course, reviewing letters from people about their relationship dilemmas and providing suggestions on how they can change it, extricate themselves from that, perhaps not never, never really get involved with that individual. Help them assess if someone is the right kind of partner for them long term or just somebody for the minute, that kind of thing. That's what I usually do. And there's some, as you do this for years and years, which I've been doing for several decades now, you notice repetitive patterns. And there are certain types of men out there. I mean, there's, dozens and dozens of types, don't get me wrong. I mean, one of my books is the 25 types of suckers to avoid. 25. When I originally started writing that book, it was going to be 12. Then went up to 15, then 18, then it made it to 21. And then finally at 25, I just made myself stop because, the book was just going to be endless. But if you're interested in reading that, you can pick it up on Amazon. It's less than $10. But it also provides some guidelines in addition to what I'm going to go over here. So yesterday, I did put up part one of this video, which talked about the first half of the 13 types of guys out here, most common in the dating world. Like I said, there's dozens really, but I tried to concentrate on the ones that women seem to write about the most, and that I think is more limiting, and all of that can pretty much be covered in these 13 types. And I just want to reiterate, this list is not all inclusive. Okay, so don't think, well, she didn't talk about this and she didn't talk about. I'm not going to, not in one video. That's not going to happen. I'm merely giving you some highlights of the types of guys that repeatedly come across my monitor in letters in problematic relationships with women. So I went through points 1 through 6 yesterday. So now we're going on to point 7. And the number 7 type of guy that you do not want to date or marry is a guy who is addicted to something. Now, it could be sex, it could be porn, it could be some kind of drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be gambling, it could be, whatever. I mean, television, whatever. Whatever it is he's addicted to, what you have to understand about those kinds of addictions is you're never, ever, ever going to be his number one. His number one is whatever he's addicted to. You're going to be in a constant battle for his attention, for his resources, for his time, for his energy, for his thoughts, for whatever. You're never going to be number one. He's most likely going to use you to help him fulfill his need for that addiction. Very often this happens in a porn addiction. The guy uses the porn to get excited. Some of them even have to pay to play the porn, watch the porn while they screw you. And they go through the stuff that they see in the porn movies versus, really making love to you because you're there and they're sharing intimacy with you. That never happens. So the women just feel like, they could be a blow-up doll. That's that, and it makes them feel really bad. You also have to understand that when people get fixated on something like this, what they're really doing, the addiction is an escape from reality. And a lot of them, even after they get into the 12-step program, they exchange one addiction for another, which is usually religion, because they go into those 12-step programs and they're all based on Christ and, the Bible and turning your problems in your life over to God. Okay, that's Christianity, and that's religion, and all of that has to do with the Bible. So these dudes then get into like quoting scriptures and carrying the Bible around with them everywhere they go, reading it incessantly, and just basically fixating on religion because they're holding on to it like a life raft. They feel like that's what's saving them. What they don't understand is what's going to save them is digging down deep and coming up with some fucking courage to face whatever the problems are that they're trying to avoid and hide from in this addiction. So, it's not like I'm a psychologist or anything, but I have enough friends that are, and I've been around enough people with addiction problems amongst friends, family, ex-schoolmates, and co-workers, all kind of stuff. You see it all the time, through my many decades of being in the workforce and just breathing. If you're an astute person, you talk to people as much as I do, they tell you their stories. They're not really ashamed of it, and they tell you what happened, the different traumas. And I mean, some of them have a very, very sad life, and you can understand why they would want to escape. You know what I mean? I'm not hating on them. I get it. But I'm just saying, for you being a healthy person in a relationship with someone like that, it's never going to work. They're going to drag you down with them because they have a lot of work they need to do on themselves and trying to be in a relationship where they're required to give and to think about somebody other than themselves or relieving the pain that they're in. It's not going to happen. That's a poor bet. So, you think about that. If you're already married to the person, or is your child or something that you can't, just ditch like that. They have a part of Alcoholics Anonymous and, Coke Enders and all these different programs. They all have a subsidiary program for the families that deal with codependency. So if you find yourself in that kind of situation, there's no easy escape. I suggest that you look into, codependency kind of support that's offered in whatever program your loved one is involved with. All right. So, just understand, you got a dude who's like this, he can't love two women equally. You'd be so the addiction's gonna get the primary amount of his love, and you just gonna get what's left over, if anything at all. So keep that in mind. Okay, point number 8, or the dude number 8 you want to avoid, are the men who follow the hotep mentality and really subscribe to patriarchy. Now, this is a lot. This is going on a lot in the black community, especially. These hotep motherfuckers. I did a whole video on them, which you can read. It's pretty. I mean, listen to rather. It's pretty hilarious, actually. But if you got a dude who's into this kind of stuff, these little fake ass Egyptian names they got, and they wearing these fancy clothes and everything's out their mouth is hotep and ashe and all that old shit, you are gonna have a problem. Because he's gonna think that he's a king and that he's supposed to rule over you, and you're supposed to like lick his feet or some shit. I don't know what they be talking about, because I don't. Once they start saying with that, they break out with the hotep, my ears shut down. I can't. What? Who? I don't know what you're talking about. I can't hear you. And that's just how I am. Now, also, there's a big movement amongst men to, try to bring women back to how they were allegedly in the 1950s. They was looking at way too much Leave It to Beaver, Fathers Knows Best, and all that old shit. They looked at those old black and white TV shows when they were kids, and they really believed that that's how life was supposed to be. So now as adults, they haven't reset their brains yet. So they're looking at that, white people on TV. Okay, it's a fantasy, my brothers. Wake the fuck up. That was entertainment. That's not reality. And, but they think that that's supposed to be, how life is supposed to be now in 2017. And we just be looking at them like, dream on. But, part of that is that they think that women are property. You're not. And in one of the things that the processes and the thought patterns and belief systems that they ascribe to is that women, not only are women property, but that women are not validated as people, as human beings, as women with a voice and rights to do things and make decisions for themselves. In their mind, you are property of a man, and if you do not have a man, then that means you're not validated as anyone that he needs to pay attention to. You're only important to him as an extension, an appendage of a man. See, so who's your dude, and then after that, then you'll get respect from them because they're really respecting the other dude, not really you. You just kind of just there. And they want women to be, doing all this cooking and cleaning and walking around in an apron and high heels and pearls and shit. And a lot of them believe that, it's your responsibility to be in charge of the relationship all by yourself. It's your job to entertain him. It's your job to feed him when he wants to be fed. You have to do everything to keep him interested in you. I mean, these women just be going through so many changes with a dude with this mindset. They always rant and raving about how evil feminism is, and it's destroyed society. It's that American women ain't shit. That's why they have to go overseas and get some beat down, living in a hut, bitch, and all this old stuff. And it's like, wow, you guys are really a trip. These are the same guys that are in Congress and the Senate right now. They have the same mentality, trying to destroy women's rights to have access to birth control and abortions with the tax money that they paid. Okay. Now, if my tax money goes to women to provide them with those things, that's fine. I don't have any man. You don't have the right to tell me where my tax dollars should and should not go because you don't like it. Fuck you. Look at all the women in the workforce. Okay, they paying just taxes and shit just like you. So you can't be in a position where you can to pick and choose where the tax dollars go, especially when men want to give them to foreign countries and buy bombs and shit with them to kill lives in other countries, but they worried about the lives here. What are you killing like thousands at a time? You know how many abortions are there per day? You see what I mean? It's like these men are stupid. There's something wrong with y'all. And a lot of them, will get into this thing where they want to joke about wearing the pants in the family and that women are emasculating. I mean, all kind of stuff that they have that the garbage they be spewing to try to make women feel bad about having a voice and standing up for themselves. So, you have to think about this. It's the kind of rhetoric this guy is spewing. If you're with him and you have daughters or sons that are going to be influenced by his mentality, how is that going to impact the lessons that you're teaching your children? Okay, this is for women who get with these dudes and you already got kids. Now, if you single and you don't have any children and you're looking at this guy as being your husband and the father of any future children you have, how do you think that's going to impact your children's minds? How is it going to make your daughters feel about themselves? How will it impact their self-esteem and their confidence? Y'all got to think. See, this is what I call having a chess game mindset. When you move this, what pieces what pieces are going to be affected, impacted, or made vulnerable by each move that you make? Remember this one thing right here. Your life at this moment is the culmination of every decision that you have ever made. Each time you had an opportunity to move your piece on the chessboard and figure out which piece to move to protect your queen, if you failed, you lost. That's when your ass got checked or checkmated. This is the kind of stuff that you have to think about. Think about the big picture. Stop looking at the moment, which is thinking about, oh, well, the dick is so good, or, he helps me pay my bill. Okay, then you have a kid or two by the fool. Think about what's going to happen to those children being exposed to that man and his bullshit. Okay, you got to think. Use your brain. Get out your heart and use your head. And these kind of dudes are the death of womanhood. They just kill any spark of creativity and individuality and creative processes and self-esteem in young women. You have got to protect your daughters. Okay, then look at the number 9 on the list here. This is the guy who is just like, he's an eternal child. He's what I call a tall child. They have beards and deep voices and stuff, but in mentally and emotionally, they're still children. They're very immature. They never want to grow up. So they live their life like a child. They whine, they cry, they, want you to treat them like a big baby. They demand that they be nurtured and supportive, and they want you to basically take care of them like their mother. That's all detailed in a separate video. You can listen. I went on and on about that and drag those motherfuckers for a long time, so you can hear that part separately. But these are guys who, some of them won't even prepare a meal for themselves. They just wait for you to get home and cook for them. And if you don't home by a certain time, they just go crazy. A lot of them just go from job to job. They don't really have like a career path. They don't really have anything they're really interested in. They just go from like one Mickey Mouse job to another. And, they're just lazy. They're unmotivated. They're intellectually stunted. I don't even know. I can't even, when I talk to a guy like this, I mean, within a few minutes, you can get an idea of where his mind is and, what kind of stuff he's looking for from a woman. You ask the right questions, you get the right answers. And I'm just like, I'm not taking care of nobody. This is a guy who wants you to step in and take care of his responsibilities, like he's a little kid, and he wants you to do stuff for him that he's fully capable of doing for himself. Just like, where's my so-and-so clothes? Where's my this and that? This motherfucker is wherever the fuck you left it. That's where it is. What you asking me for? I mean, what am I, a bloodhound? Finding your shit bloodhound? No. You find it yourself. Wherever you left it, that's where it is. And see, then I'm done. I don't give a fuck where it is, because I keep up with my stuff. You need to keep up with yours. And a lot of these dudes, they'll be like, well, I didn't get to do this and that. I didn't get to reach my potential because you didn't help me, or you didn't do enough, or you didn't do it the right way. And you a bad wife, you a bad girlfriend. So I don't know. You want to exert your energy into doing that kind of stuff just to say you have a man, that's on you. See, these, like I said in the first video, a lot of these things are problems. They turn up to be problems for women later that the women try to ignore on the front end because they were so anxious to have a relationship. But by the time you mature and you have children, you will get to see what a burden and an albatross around your neck a dude like this is. It's like you're not having just a baby now. You got a baby and a 6 foot tall baby. So it's and a lot of them are jealous of the actual kids too. Let me throw that in there. They want you to treat them like a child, and then when you actually have a child, they flip the fuck out. They're jealous of the baby. Some of them will abuse the babies. They rape the babies. They want to throw the babies out the window, or you leave them to babysit the baby like a dummy, and they mistreat the child, abuse the child. Next thing you know, the child's dead or in the hospital. I mean, you got to really, understand the mindset of the dude that you're dealing with. And a lot of people should not be fathers, okay? They shouldn't. Just because they have active sperm, that doesn't mean that they need to hit pay dirt and become a baby. So y'all need to be thinking about this kind of stuff, because you're going to be create a problem for yourself later down the road. And a lot of them, when they abuse the kids, the mother's going down with them because they feel like you should have known that he was stupid and you shouldn't have left the kid around him, unsupervised. So be prepared, to get the bracelets on your own ass as well, because you picked a stupid ass man. Okay, now number 10, dudes, speaking of stupid ass, number 10 is the stupid ass man. Now, where these guys get you, see, where this is where they get you, because they look good. Most of them look really, really good. That's how they still get women. They got a nice build, they sexy, they fun, they got nice teeth, nice skin, all the stuff women like to look at. They got that. But when he opens his mouth, the ignorance spews forth like an explosion of Niagara Falls or something. I mean, it's just like full of bullshit and stupidity. He has like poor understanding about everything. And some dudes I've talked to like this, you tell them like some basic shit, and then they misunderstand it, and you got to go back and repeat it a couple of different times and use different words and stuff and break it down into the nth degree so they understand what you're talking about. And I'm sitting there like, how low is your IQ? This is really sad. I'm getting, I get frustrated. I can't really deal with stupid people. I mean, I can, like if I know somebody is intellectually challenged, don't get me wrong, like someone who has, learning disabilities and child with Down syndrome, something like that, I have all the patience in the world for those people. And I will talk to them and, explain. I don't have no problem with that. I'm talking about people who come across and try to tell you that they are normal and that they have good sense, who then you find out are mentally deficient and just retarded. See, I can't be bothered with you. A lot of them will do stuff. They're like so intellectually lazy. They get on social media or you be in a conversation with them or something, right? And they will ask you a question. They want you to give them the answer to stuff that they could do for themselves. They could look on Google. They could look it up in a dictionary. They could look it up in the thesaurus, thesaurus. I mean, they could do something where they took charge of their own knowledge to get that information for themselves, but they don't do it. They want you to tell them like you're a child. These are the people that don't read books. Like if I go in somebody's house and they don't have any books anywhere, I get immediately suspicious that there's something wrong with them. You have to have some books in your house. I mean, especially if you have children. What the fuck are they doing? Just watching TV all the time? Playing on their like electronic gadgets? That stuff is all new. This is something that people need to think about too. We still don't understand because they haven't been around long enough. What kind of damage this stuff might be doing to the optic nerves and brains of children and their nervous systems. Being around all those electronic impulses all the time. And they hold the shit up close to their face where their brain and eyes are. We'll probably find out in another 20 or 30 years, oh no, we shouldn't have been letting children have all that screen time. But right now, this whole movement is very new. And so nobody really knows the long-term impact of this stuff. So I'm kind of, if be cautious with it. Take that shit away from your kids. Make them read a goddamn book and not an ebook, a book. Go take them to the library. Let them, expose their minds to stuff so that when they get older, they won't be stupid like these dudes I'm talking about. Now, if you are with a guy like this and it's too late, you've already pregnant or you already got a kid by him before you really found out how stupid he was, then you have to take care if you progress through life. You going through job related functions and whatnot. Don't bring his ass. And you have educated friends or family, but he's fine, and you like the sex. You better hide his ass in the dark recesses of your life, and not let him meet nobody that you know, because you will be embarrassed. And if you're single, which is the market that this video is actually devoted to, single with no children, you're not married on, okay, please don't fall in love with or marry or have kids with a stupid man. Intellect is genetic. If you have a stupid man contributing DNA to any possible future children that you have, you're gambling with their intelligence. Your child could turn out to be as stupid as its baby daddy. Then what you gonna do? Okay, you smart, and you got a dumb motherfucker having a baby. You having a baby by a dumb motherfucker, and then you have dumbass kids. You're gonna be tortured the rest of your life with stupidity just all around you, just like blanketing your life. Why would you do that to yourself, and why would you do that to your children? Now you're gonna have a stupid man. You're gonna have stupid in-laws. Oh my God, you're just gonna be just like drowning in stupidity. That's torture. Just thinking about it gives me the itchies. Okay, then type number 11 to avoid. You got these little pimp types, these little player types, the gold digging gigolo types of dudes. Again, they tend to be very good looking, tend to be very sexy. These are the dudes, when you meet them, the first thing they want, oh, so what you do, where you work at, what kind of car you drive. They looking at the clothes you wear. They want to try to figure out, if you can invest in their business or something, right? That's just to see what your credit score is and how much money you have in the bank. He's going to be looking at how well maintained you are, checking out your nails, checking out your clothes, checking out what labels you have on your purse and all this kind of stuff, what kind of wallet you got. And he's going to be sitting there plotting on your ass, trying to figure out how in the world he can get some of your money from your bank account into his wallet. That's what he's doing. So these are the types of dudes that fall in love. They just like, they find out that you want to get married, or you want to, be in love, or you want tired of being single, or any kind of noise like that you make. They're going to flip that shit around and use it on you so fast. And you're going to be simply trying to figure out what in the world is happening. And you get caught up in this like whirlwind relationship full of high romance and drama. And, he's like really putting it on thick, so you falling for the shit. And then the next thing you know, he's gonna start asking you for help. He's gonna start saying, making noise about, well, why don't you do this and this and that and this and that for him. And this is the type of guy who also, he just says he doesn't believe in paying for dates. And he's gonna get hit with that. Well, modern women make more than men, and want you to pay half, or he's going to start, the noise to start with, so he can start getting in your wallet. And sometimes they be coming up with that, well, I'm a little short this week. They ask you if you can give them $100, $500, $1,000 for something. And, you guys start feeling like, well, we in a relationship. My money is his money. Yo, bitch ass ain't married. Shut the fuck up. Your money is your money and his is his. Even sometimes people even do it when they're married. They still keep their shit separate, because not every state's a community property state. So you got to better know where you live, know what the laws are for the state that you live in. And, you guys, a lot of women don't mind. They feel like, they're kind of trading their money or whatever. They can't take it with you. It's just sitting there. He can use it, and I get to be seen with this fine man and have this good looking dude fucking me and all this stuff. So, if it's a fair exchange and everybody's on the same page and you know what's going on, and it's, you're not living under some false thing where you thinking that he's in love with you and you in love with him, well, then that's different. That's like an agreement between two adults to do some shit that mutually benefits both of them. But for those of you who really do believe that, the guy is in love with you and he's coming with less than what you got, and you giving to him and he's not giving you much back, you need to be very careful, because he's going to be trying to use up all your resources so he can save his money and his resources for himself or even some other bitch. So, be careful with that. You want a relationship where, the guy comes in. If you're looking for a traditional type of relationship, may stay focused on what you want. Don't worry about what he's talking about. The 12th kind of guy is the guy who's just, I mean, there's a lot of women. I mean, wait, I'm getting off a track. Okay. The ugly dude. He just fucking ugly. I don't know what else to say. He's not cute. And a lot of you, though, these guys do sometimes have a lot of charisma. And they work on that because they know they can't get a woman with the way they look, that's for sure. But, they have something else. They focus on something else, like their money, their fame, their power, whatever. They have something else that will attract women to them that won't be looks. But if you are a woman, you're a young woman, you want to have a husband, you want to have children, do not have your children by no ugly ass motherfucker. Why? Because you are going to doom your kids to a life of taunting and teasing and less. And no matter what we say about how fair it's not, and how it's not fair and it shouldn't be that way, this world goes by looks and beauty. If you have beauty, you have everything. If you're a dude and you're a good looking dude, you have everything. You start up higher on the totem pole than even dudes who have money that are ugly. Just by the fact that you are an attractive looking person, you get options and opportunities, doors open for you that won't get open for people, even if the other person has more education and ability. Now, I know this sounds cold, but it's the reality of the world we live in. Beautiful people get stuff that ugly or just plain people don't. Okay, so if you're gonna have a baby, like I said, make sure you look at that, look objectively. If you can't look objectively, then you better get a friend to tell you on a scale of 1 to 10, what is this motherfucker? Take the consensus of them, because they not, in love with them. They just gonna be looking at what they see. And you better damn well know, if whatever he looks like, your genes will not be enough to save your children from looking like a donkey's ass. And it's gonna be a problem. You get some old, short, misbuilt, butt ugly dude. Your kids have a 50-50 chance to look exactly like him. Why would you do that to them? It's just really not fair. I mean, but if you're not having plan to have no kids, you pass childbearing age, and the dude is really nice. You two really get along. You have great conversations. You could travel together, whatever. You got similar interests and stuff, whatever. And you want to be with an ugly dude that makes you happy in other ways, honey, have at it. Do that. But my thing is this: do not get with no insecure ass ugly man who's always thinking that you looking at somebody else, you're gonna leave him because of some, the way he looks, and definitely don't have children with him. Okay, that's my warning. And finally, on rounding out my list of the 13 types of dudes that you should avoid at all costs, is a dude who can't keep his fucking mouth closed. He will talk you to death. He talks and talks and talks, and he usually don't be talking about nothing nobody want to hear anyway. And he's talking about stuff that he shouldn't be talking about, like other people's personal affairs. So you got a dude like this, how they talk about the strong silent type? That's because that is a very desirable trait in men. Just shut the fuck up. You talk too goddamn much. You're talking about shit don't nobody want to hear anyway. But these dudes they just have always got something to say. They never shut the fuck up. You see a lot of them online. They just want to go back and forth with women. They always interjecting themselves and stuff. They put forth their little opinion like it's a, scientifically proven fact that's written up in journals or something. I mean, I just be amazed because at least if you're gonna talk, have something that's is sensible to talk about. But they just talk about stupid stuff. God, a lot of it is gossip, like I said. So then you'll notice though too, when you have this kind of dude, you got to go out, or you in some environment where people are talking. He dominates the conversation. He just overtalks people. He interrupts them, and everything is very one-sided. Whenever you have a quote conversation with him, it's really him talking and you listening. And if you have this kind of dude, you better understand you can't really tell him stuff. Don't be telling him stuff about like your girlfriends and your mama and your brother and some coworker and her husband. If you know something, don't tell his ass, because then he gonna run and tell his boys. He gonna tell his frat brothers. He gonna tell everybody who will listen all the stuff that you told him, because he's just messy. He is messy. He's just bitch made, and they just talk too fucking much. And these are the type of dudes too. You women, you get stupid, right? That this happens a lot in my column. Women, right? They had this kind of dude, and then they write to me and they're like, "Oh, we broke up and I was going out with someone else, and then we got back together. And, I just want to be honest, and I want to tell him about, what happened during that time. And I want to tell him about all the things that I know and I think, and all the things that I feel, and all the stuff that, other people tell me, because it'll make our relationship close. Some variation of those things. And I just be like, you are just stupid. You need to stuff a football in your mouth so you can't ever talk again. You don't tell men who are blabbermouths all this kind of stuff. You don't tell them stuff because they can't be trusted with secrets. They talk too much. And, he's going to be one of those types every time he says some shit. He's going to be like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Or, don't tell nobody I told you this. But, he's got that kind of persona. And so, like I said, the strong, silent type dude, the ones who sit there and nod and be like, yeah, okay, that's the kind of dude I like. Just shut up. Don't say nothing. I mean, unless you whisper sweet nothings in my ear at the appropriate time, or I ask you a question, please just don't talk. Don't say anything. Inevitably, when men start talking, they say some shit that don't nobody want to hear, and then they get themselves in trouble and just starts a bunch of shit. So really, men should practice being like my grandfather and say like 100 words a day or less. That should be your goal. Just to say thank you, please, which way do I go, pass me that, good morning, good evening, stuff like that. That's all you need to say. You don't need to say more than that, because every time you do, y'all start some shit and makes a big mess and a big problem. So bottom line, ladies, pay attention when you first meet a guy, and kind of run through this list in your mind and see if he fits in these categories, because men pretty much show you who they are. What it is, a lot of women either A, don't know what to look for, or B, they see it and then they ignore it because you think that this magic is going to happen. Well, when we get married, no, he is what he is, and all them other things don't change who he is. The only thing that's going to ever change a man is him. He has to want to be different. He has to want to be better, greater, faster, stronger, more communicative. I mean, whatever is his goal for himself, he has to set it, and then he has to do the work all by himself. And when you see a dude doing something like that, really working on himself to that level, okay, well then that's the guy that you can kind of check out a little bit more. Even if he is on this list, you see he's putting steps in place to make himself a different man because he has decided that he wants to change. That's the only way that I could even imagine tolerating any of the bullshit that I just read off to you. So watch what they do. Don't listen to what they say, because be talking a good game. But you start observing a man's behavior and you see what he does and how he handles himself, and you'll be really able to determine with pretty quickly, pretty easily, whether he's the right guy for you to date, whether he's the right guy for you to marry, or whether he's somebody that you should give the boot to and next with the quickness. Deb Cooper from survivingdating.com signing out. Thanks everybody for listening. Bye bye.